Okay, so I know it's been a very long time since I've done Bible teas, and I'm so sorry, but listen, life be life, and as you can see, them crutches leaning against the wall. It's been a tough year, okay? But we are celebrating one full year of Bible teas, so let's kick off this new Bible tea YouTube channel with the story of Joseph. We love us some Joey. Okay, so y'all know how I feel about just jumping into Bible stories without actually knowing the context behind it. We don't do that. That's like jumping into the ending of a movie. No, we need to go from the beginning. Baby, this whole family need their own tea breakdowns because it's so messy. Joseph's father is Jacob and Joseph's mother is Rachel. Now, why those names may sound familiar is because Jacob absolutely loved Rachel and he worked 7 hard years to win her in marriage from her dad. And on their wedding night, he discovered that he got tricked into marrying her not so attractive sister Leah. So then he had to work additional 7 more years just to finally marry Rachel, and Leah kept having kids and Rachel couldn't have any, and finally when she was able to have a child, she had a son named Joseph. So needless to say, Joey is Jacob's absolute favorite, and he showed that through lots of favoritism that caused so much strife through the family. I'm talking about he done gave him a robe of many colors. Like, do you know how expensive it is to have robes of many colors back in these days? And Joseph just like 17, he just prancing around, making all his brothers just even more jealous of him in this colorful robe. And to make the matters even worse, not only is Joey special because he's his father's favorite, he's special because he has the gift of dreams. So homeboy keep having dreams basically about how his brothers one day is going to bow down to him, and even how his mother and father will be bowing down to him too. Baby, his brothers had enough. So one day, all of the brothers go down to the pasture, and Jacob is like, yo, Joey, I need you to go get your brothers. Go give them a word. Go do something with them. So go find them. And Joseph goes, and his brothers see him coming from afar, and they like, here come the dreamer. And they devise a plan to take off his coat, kill him, and throw him in a pit. But one of his brothers, Reuben, is like, nah, man, like, let's not kill him. Let's just, like, we can put him in the pit. And his whole idea was that he was going to come back later and rescue his brother out of the pit. So Joey finally approaches them and they, like, rip off his robe from him. They throw him in the pit, and then they sit down to have a meal. But then they see, like, this whole tribe of Ishmaelites, like merchants selling spices and things. And one of the brothers, Judah, is like, yo, let's not kill him. Let's just sell him into slavery. So they take Joey out of the pit, sell him to the Ishmaelites. They send him to Egypt. They then take his robe of many colors, kill a whole bunch of goats, put blood all over the robe, and then go to their dad like, yo, Joey died. So sorry. And Jacob was completely devastated. And Joseph gets sold in Egypt to Potiphar, who happens to be like the captain of the guard for the Pharaoh's army. And he gets sold into his house. One thing that is consistently throughout the story of Joseph is these words: God was with him. So while Joey is in Potiphar's wife, he's operating in his other gift. You see, his natural talent is to be a dreamer, but his spiritual gift is the gift of administration. And baby, everything that he touches and organizes, it completely prospers. So Joey is that man, okay? Like, he got this whole household running like a well-oiled machine. He making himself money. He making his master money. And Potiphar sees that God is with him, and he decides to put him in charge of the whole house. You know who else noticed everything that Joey touch is good? Potiphar's wife. She's so thirsty. So this thirsty hoe, I mean Potiphar's wife, keep asking this boy to come lay with her. I mean, she is in his DMs every day, every hour, every second, talking about, come on, Joey, come sleep with me. So Joey is like, come on, man, no, like, the master has put everything in this house in my hands, except for you, because you his wife. And first of all, I'm not going to sin against God doing that. And second of all, I'm not going to betray my mans like that. But the thirsties stay thirstying. And she would not stop. And one day, nobody is in the house, none of the servants, nobody except for Joseph. And she decided this is the day. So she decided to grab Joey by his garment, like, come on, man, let me bust it open for a real one. And instead of saying anything, he just runs away straight up. She had to be gripping his garment so hard because my boy ran out of his garment. Like, she was still holding his overcoat as he ran pew right out the room. Instead of her taking it as a hint of, you know what, let me leave this dude alone, she decided to take the garment, run and talking about, look, see, my husband done bought that Hebrew up in here. He done tried to lay with me, and when I raised my voice, he ran away. See, I got the evidence right here. Can't stand her. So Potiphar gets home, and the wife tells her little wannabe Me Too lying self the whole story of how you brought this Hebrew in here and he tried to rape me. And the Bible says that Potiphar became extremely angry and threw our poor Joey into prison. But just like I told y'all, the Bible kept saying that God was with him. And even though he was in the prison, he found favor with the prison warden. And he made Joey in charge of everything in the prison. Sidebar, imagine that. Getting sold into slavery and then using your gifts and you completely take over your master's house and become prosperous. Then get thrown into prison and then you use your gifts again. And then you're in charge of the whole prison, even though you're a prisoner. So this is why during morning devotion with the Queendom, I always say, make room for your gifts and they will make room for you. But anyway, back to the Bible tea. So while Joey's still in prison, it just so happened that the Pharaoh becomes really, really mad at his chief of butlers and his chief of bakers. Now, these two gentlemen are in jail and they both have dreams that no one seems to be able to interpret. Here comes that dreamer. So Joey goes up to them one day like, yo, what's good? And they both tell him their dreams. And he says to the baker, sorry, bruh, but in 3 days, basically the Pharaoh gonna hang you and you about to die. So sorry. Lay you dope. But to the chief of the butlers, he's like, listen, what your dream means is that in 3 days, Pharaoh is going to lift up your head. He's going to appoint you back to office. You're going to have his cup in your hand within 3 days. You have nothing to worry about. I just ask one thing. Don't forget about me, bruh. Like, I'm up here in this prison. I'm not even supposed to be here. I got sold into slavery. Like, I don't belong here. So don't forget about me when you have your come up. But of course, when people get to where they going, they sure forget where they come from and forget the people that helped them. And he left my boy Joey in that prison for 2 more years before he remembered him. But God was with him. So fast forward 2 years, the Pharaoh now has a dream. Because this is how God works, right? And there's no one who can interpret these dreams. I'm talking about he done call all his musicians. He done call all the seers in the land. Everybody with their fake little spirituality, new age stuff. And can't nobody tell the Pharaoh what's happening in these dreams. But here come that dreamer. So the chief of the butlers is like, oh, snap. My bad. You know what, Pharaoh? Remember that time when you had been mad at me and the baker and like you had thrown us in prison and you like had hung the chief of the bakers, but like you had brought me back? Well, we had a dream in the exact same night and there was this young boy in prison who completely interpreted our dreams, and God is with him because all of them dreams came true. And his name Joseph. So Pharaoh immediately gets Joey out of prison. They shave him all up, give him a whole, new fade and all that stuff. He looking all good and stuff. And he comes to the Pharaoh and he's like, all right, what's poppin'? Tell me this dream. So Pharaoh tells him his dream and Joseph is like, look, only God can reveal this to you. I love how Joey stay putting God first in his life. Glory be to God. So he says, okay, basically, this is what's going to happen. Your dream means that you're about to have 7 prosperous years in Egypt. We about to be lit. We're about to be, it's the overflow for me. But then 7 years after that, there's going to be a great famine in the land. And I mean, it's going to be completely devastating. So here's what you need to do. He started busting out those administrative spiritual gifts here. He was like, you need to do this. You need to separate the land. You need to start storing up 7 years worth of food so that we're prepared for this famine. And you need to find a really great man to oversee all of this. So Pharaoh was like, dang, you right. And what greater man is there but you who God is with? So I'm about to put you in charge of all of Egypt. As a matter of fact, there will be no one greater to this throne except for me. Go ahead, Joey. So the Bible says that Joey was actually 30 years old when this all started happening. During those 7 years of prosperous time, he went throughout the whole land. I mean, the Bible actually says that he saved up so much corn and so much food that it was like the sand of the sea. I mean, my boy knew how to save, okay? He was trying to save a whole nation. And once those 7 years were done, there was a great famine in the land. I'm talking about it was so bad that people were begging Pharaoh to be like, yo, give us bread. Like, we are starving. And he was like, go to Joseph. And Joseph opened up the storehouses and started selling the food because he's a businessman. Hello. And the famine was so great, it wasn't just Egypt, it was other countries too. Like, other countries were traveling to Egypt to get food because they were starving and dying in their own lands. You know who else was starving and dying in their land and needed to go to Egypt in order to survive? Jacob and all his sons. Let me get myself together because this is my favorite part. So Jacob hears that there is corn in Egypt. So he says to his 10 sons, although he has 11, because Joseph's younger brother Benjamin, which was also Rachel's baby, was also his favorite son. And like, he was clinging to him because the last of his favorite sons got murdered and came back with a bloodied robe of many colors. So he wasn't letting Benji go. But he said to his other 10 sons, I heard that there is corn in Egypt and I need y'all to go there and save our family. So the Bible says that they go to the governor of Egypt and they bow before him to plead their case. And they didn't recognize that they was bowing down to Joseph, just like his dream said they would. So Joey decided to have a little bit of fun because he recognized all his brothers, but they have no clue who he is. So he sees that they bow down. He immediately remembers his dreams from when he was a young boy. And he's like, he starts acting really harshly toward them. He's like, y'all a bunch of spies. Y'all ain't come here to try to save your family. Y'all a bunch of spies up in here. And they was like, nah, sir, listen, we are just brothers of one whole man. Like, he has 12 sons. Our youngest one, he is with him. And there's one that is no more. He is not. They ain't really say how they tried to murder that boy, though, but whatever. So Joseph is like, I bet. Prove it. Prove that y'all not here just trying to spy out the land. I'm going to put y'all in prison. I'm going to send one of y'all back. And y'all go bring that youngest one back that y'all keep talking about. We gonna see if y'all lying or not. So they start talking in Hebrew to each other like, yo, this is what we get for trying to murder Joseph and we sold him into slavery. Now this dude want us to go get Benji. Pop's not gonna let Benji out of his sight. And they don't know that Joseph understands what they're saying because, hello, he's Hebrew. He's their brother. So Joseph kind of like goes off to the side and starts crying because he's like, yo, like, I can't believe this has come full circle. This is my family. Like, let me see how I'm about to play this out. So he's like, look, I'm capturing one of y'all. Man, just take this sacks of corn and just go about your business. Go back to your dad. Go bring me back that youngest one if you want to get this other one back. So Joey actually has their sacks filled with corn, and he actually gives them back all their money. And they only discover that one of them had their money back first, so they was kind of scared. And they go back home to Pops, and they're like, yo, the dude who had this land, who owns the whole land, he's like, look, y'all need to bring that youngest brother to me, and I'm keeping this one right here. And they empty out all their sacks, and they see all the money, and they are petrified for their life. So then they end up eating all the corn, and after some time, they're still hungry. So they're like, all right, you gotta go back to Egypt. And he like, Pops, like, if we go back to Egypt, we have to bring Benji with us. Like, that's specifically what he said. You're not gonna see this other brother till you bring that young boy to me. So they finally bring Benji to Egypt with them. And when Joseph sees them, he's like, so is this the younger brother y'all was telling me about? And they like, yeah. And Joseph can't even control himself. He like runs out of the throne room and goes to his chamber to have a good old cry. Joey. So Joseph basically has this really big banquet for them. Like, they're washing each other's feet. They're doing all those customs. And he eventually sends them on their way. And they tell him like, yo, the last time, just to let you know, our money was still in our sacks. Like, we didn't do that on purpose. And he's like, no, the God that you serve and the God of your fathers blessed you with this treasure. Go ahead, go back home. And here's all this corn for you. But this time... Joey has all his servants fill all their sacks, but he has them put his cup in Benji's sack. So they go to leave, minding their own business, and Joseph's servants come running like, yo, something seems to be missing. Y'all need to empty y'all sacks right now. So they empty all their sacks, and when the cup falls out of Benjamin's bag, they all start screaming and wilding out like, yo, because the decree was whoever has the cup is going to end up being Joseph's slave. So they all go back to the palace to go talk to Joseph, and his brother Judah, which actually was the one who was like, nah, let's not kill him, let's just sell him into slavery. So he says, listen, you don't understand. You can't keep Benji. Like, I don't know how your cup got in his sack, but you don't understand. Like, this is going to kill our father. Like, let me tell you what had happened. So our father had two specific sons by their mother. They are his favorites, and one of our brothers died, and that almost killed our father. This is his last son with his wife Rachel, and to even get him here was a whole lot of drama. You don't understand. Please, you can't keep Benji as a slave. So Joseph stands up and he sends everybody out of the room except for his brothers, because he just can't take it anymore. And our boy Joey just starts sobbing and weeping, and he's like, I am Joseph. I am your brother that you sold unto Egypt. I am now governor over the whole land of Egypt, and God has sent me before y'all so that I can preserve y'all life. Ooh, I get goosebumps every time I think about it. He's like, there's about to be a 7-year famine, and we're only in year 2. There are 5 more years, and I'm going to take care of y'all. Come closer. Come to me. I am Joseph. He grabs Benji. He starts crying. Benji starts crying. Everybody crying. It's so beautiful. So basically Joey is like, listen, is Pop still alive? And they're like, yes. And he sends wagons and wagons with each brother of food and provisions. Of course, he sent Benji with more because, you know, that's his bro. And they go to Jacob and they like, Jacob, Joseph lives. He is the governor of all the land. And Jacob almost had like a heart attack. It says that his heart was just so faint. His heart fainted. He just couldn't believe it. And after he saw all the wagons, it says that he felt revived. He's like, I'm about to go see my son. So, you know, Jacob takes his little old self to Egypt. He sees his son, and Pharaoh lets Joey set up all this land for his family, and he takes care of them. There's so many lessons to pull from this story. One of the biggest lessons is it doesn't matter if you are in the pit, in a prison, or in the palace. God will never leave you nor forsake you. One of the second lessons is Always use your gifts, not just your natural talents. I think that we constantly mix up our gifts with our spiritual gifts. Spiritual gifts are completely different. We're supposed to operate in them to serve our purpose, to make sure that God's will is done and that God is glorified. Another lesson that we learned from Joey is don't be falling for temptation all the time. If it come too easy, it's too greasy. We don't want it. One of the biggest lessons that I can think of from the story of Joseph is the gift of forgiveness. I think so many times we get caught up in our own hurt that we don't allow for grace and we don't allow for growth, and that people can actually learn from their mistakes. And truth be told, Joseph had every right to be justified in anger and bitterness, but he just didn't choose that route. I mean, he did do a little petty little games with them. I mean, he did do that. But in the end, he completely forgave them, and he was able to see past his pain to his whole purpose. His whole purpose this whole time, from prison to pit, from prison to the palace, was that he would be able to provide for his family. He will be able to save a whole land. He will be able to save a whole nation and generations to come. And oftentimes that is exactly what happens to us. Our family are the ones that hurt us, and we end up being those generational curse breakers. It's us who has to do the healing within ourselves, and it usually starts with forgiveness. So I hope that this Bible tea is able to give you some type of encouragement. Let me know what lessons you got from it in the comments. Let me know your favorite part. And as always, baby, ain't no tea like Bible tea, honey. Keep sipping with me.